All right, y'all. So for any of you that are in here right now, if you are not watching on your phone, I mean, have the capability of getting the QR code that's on the screen. This is just a way for me to get your information so that you can keep learning about Baylor. We can keep you up to date on the application process. If you're a senior, we'll make sure that you get to the application process right now. If you're not a senior, we'll make sure you know when it's time for you to go through that. So this QR code, definitely get a picture of it. And if you don't get the QR code, I will share a link with Mr. Ford so that you can get signed up with more information. But I'll go ahead and get started by introducing myself. So my name is Jamarcus Ransom, and I'm an admissions counselor here at Baylor. I'm a Baylor grad, so I graduated from Baylor in 2017 with a degree in Management Information Systems, and that's basically taking business and putting it together with IT. As you can see, I am not an IT guy right now, so I'm working in admissions. But part of the reason I'm doing that is because I enjoy my time at Baylor and am trying to make some of the money back that I paid. So y'all know that, they don't know that, but I'm really trying to cheat the system here. So I'm gonna spend a little bit of time talking about Baylor, sharing about our academics, ways to get involved on campus. And if you're in here and you have questions, please send them to the chat throughout. You don't have to wait until I finish to ask questions. So if you have a question, send it to the chat and I'll try to stop and answer those for y'all. So I want to start by talking about academics. So academics, as you know, are a big part of college. They're important to your college experience and hopefully going to lead to a job that is going to be fulfilling for you, and that's going to pay your bills and give you a little bit of extra money to do the things you want to do. And at Baylor, you're going to have a lot of options. So we have 140 majors and programs that you can choose from. These majors and programs are going to be anything from our pre-med program. That's one of the most popular uh, tracks that students take. This program goes with any major, and you will basically work with our pre-health committee to take classes you need to be successful on the MCAT, to get into medical school, and to be competitive in the medical school application process. Students that complete that program get accepted into medical school at a 71% rate. And if you aren't aware, the national average for acceptance into medical school is in the 30s. So that's double the national average. So if any of you are interested in becoming a doctor or going to medical school, Baylor is a good place to be. But we also have unique programs that are smaller. So our engineering program is a smaller program if you compare it to other engineering programs in the state of Texas, where you get a lot of interaction with faculty members. You'll see the average class size is only 26 students. So that might be smaller than some of your high school classes. But in these classes, you're going to be able to ask questions. You're going to be able to work closely with your classmates, with your professors, get help on the material if you need it, and also to learn about research opportunities. So when I say research, y'all might be thinking of a lab coat and goggles, but research is a lot more than that. Now, there's opportunities to do research in not only science, but also in sports. There's opportunities to do research through art and music. So if there's something that you're interested in, there's probably a chance you'll get to do research with a professor if you reach out to them. So one of the things I enjoy most about Baylor was the opportunity to work closely with our faculty. And so what you will see here is a screen that says intentional faculty. And I think the way that really shows itself is how they care about our students, not just in the classroom, but outside the classroom. If you took a poll of Baylor students, most of them would say that they've either been invited to a dinner at their professor's house, that they've got to meet their professor's family, that their professor has prayed for them, that they've been able to go sit down in their professor's office and say, I don't know what I want to do with my life. Can you help me out? And those professors have always been there. And I think that is one of the things that makes Baylor unique is the classes are small enough where your professors get to know you and they can give you the special attention you need and help you to kind of navigate all the classes you're going through and adjusting to college life. Now, in adjusting to college life, you not only want to find a classroom where you can be successful, but you want to find a campus where you can get connected, where you can have a good time, where you can join clubs and organizations. And Baylor has a lot of choices for you. So there's 330 plus student organizations you can choose from. These student organizations are going to be anything from social clubs to academic organizations. We also have service organizations and Greek life. So I want to talk a little bit about Greek life. On this picture, you'll see what is kind of the national Greek life scene that you might see in a movie, but we also have historically black fraternities and sororities. So we have 7 of the Divine Nine organizations on campus. We also have multicultural Greek life on campus, and then some of our academic organizations or majors have Greek organizations. So there is a fraternity for the business school. There are also faith-based fraternities and sororities. So if you do want to be involved in Greek life at Baylor, we have that option. There's about 30% of our students who are involved in Greek life in some way. And then if you don't want to be involved, you can still take advantage of the events they have on campus, get the free food, go for some fun and good entertainment. So it's not required to be successful or to be connected at Baylor, but definitely something that you can be a part of if you want to. We also have something called intramural sports. Now, this is just a way to be competitive, to make friends, again, to be connected to campus. Intramural sports are going to be everything from flag football to tug of war, as you see on this picture. You make a team with other Baylor students and then get to compete against each other throughout the year in a regular season and then a postseason. And everybody wants to win an intramural championship. And I'm just going to let y'all know now, all you get for winning is a t-shirt, but everybody wants that t-shirt. So if you like sports, if you are good at sports, intramurals might be the way to go for you. But we also have a ton of good sports for you to watch. So we're part of the Big 12 at Baylor, Division I athletics program. And one of the cool things about Baylor that I did not realize as a student is it's one of the few universities where we're competitive in multiple sports. So our men's basketball team, if you didn't know this, was ranked #1 last year. Our women's basketball team has always been in the top 5. We also have #1 women's volleyball team, football team, has in the past been in the top 10. We're hoping that they're going to be in the top 10 again this year. But the nice thing is that our students actually get to go to every sporting event that they want to. So all of the home sporting events are included in student fees. So all you have to do is show up with your student ID. You can swipe in, go to a basketball game, go to a volleyball game, check out any sporting event. So one of the nice things about being a student at Baylor. And another nice thing is going to be our football stadium. So this is a brand new stadium that was built when I was a student at Baylor. It's right off the Brazos River, so you'll see people tailgating before the game. You might see them out on their boats. They call that sailgating. And then when the game starts, you will see all of our freshmen touch the field before the game, and that's something we call the Baylor line. So all of our freshmen get a gold line jersey when they join the incoming class at Baylor. You put whatever name you want on the back. It also has your graduation year. And then right before the game, all of our freshmen run across the field and make a welcome tunnel for the team. And if you have seen most college football games, usually the freshmen are at the very top. At Baylor, our freshmen actually sit closest to the field. So they sit closest to the field right behind the visiting team. And then the rest of our students are right behind them. So it's kind of a nice perk at Baylor is that all of our students get to sit in pretty good seats throughout the game. Now, one of my favorite events that happens at Baylor when I was a student and even now as a staff member is Mosaic Mixer. This is where all of our multicultural student organizations actually set up a table where they showcase their organization and what they have to offer for our campus. There's a ton of free food every year at this event. You can stop by, get free food, meet people in these organizations, leave your information if you want to get connected. And then at the end of the night, there's a huge showcase where we have members from these organizations that compete against each other to start off the year. So this is, again, easy way to get connected at the beginning of the year and to learn about the different opportunities through multicultural affairs. This was the place that I was most connected as a student at Baylor. So I got involved in one of our historically Black fraternities. We also have different coalitions. So there are 4 different coalitions on campus. There's a Black Student Union. We also have Hispanic Student Association, Asian Student Association, and then an Indian Student Association. And so you can join those coming in. They all have a welcome event to help students get connected to these different organizations, find people who look like them, hear about good places to eat, where to go get your hair cut, all of those good things, where to get your hair done. And these events that they put on throughout the year are big events. So if you are a student leader in these organizations, you're getting experience planning and leading these events. And if you're not, you're getting to go and enjoy them. So if y'all have questions about what some of these events look like, please ask at the end, and I'm happy to share more about them. Now, I just want to talk a little bit about outcomes because you're going to college, you want to have a good time while you're there, but you also want to be successful when you leave. Part of being successful when you leave is doing well while you're there. So I do want to talk about our Success Center. At Baylor, we do have tutoring that's available for all of our lower level courses. So that's going to be the classes you take mostly your freshman and sophomore year. There's tutors that are available so you can walk in at any time. They can help you with your homework assignments. There also are something called SIs, that's supplemental instructors. That's basically a student that's already taken a class, gotten an A in the class, built a good relationship with the professor, that comes back and teaches a supplemental class after you've taken their class to help you be successful. So they may have study guides that they go through before the test in that class. They may also break down the assignments in a way that's more understandable. And students that participate in SI usually have their letter grades improved by half a grade every year. So some good resources available. They're also in this office are going to be things like our First in Line program for first generation students. They're also going to be academic support services. So if you're struggling in a class, there's going to be people who check in with you and make a plan to get back on track. And there's a time management workshop that they put on every year, and I needed that more than one time, so I had to go to that time management workshop every year when I was a student at Baylor. So a lot of resources in the Success Center, and then our career management office actually puts on multiple career fairs on campus every year. All you have to do is show up with your suit on the class, and then you can roll down to the career fair. These recruiters, for the most part, are Baylor alums that are coming back to recruit Baylor students. Most of our programs at Baylor do have high job placement rates. That's something they take a lot of pride in. So there's multiple programs with 100% job placement, and quite a few after that have over 90% job placement. So if you're looking to get jobs, get connected, you can use our career management center, and then you can also look at your specific majors to work with faculty to help find you a job and an internship while you're at Baylor. Now, hopefully y'all have heard all that and you are at least thinking about applying. So I want to share how you can apply to be a Baylor Bear. One thing I'll point out is if you're not a senior, this process may look a little bit different. This is our process for our COVID year. Everybody knows things are a little bit different with COVID. So this is what the process looks like this year. It's 4 easy steps. First thing is our application is free. So you can choose how you want to apply, choose the option that's best for you, that's easiest for you. Go Baylor, which is our webpage, the Common App, or Apply Texas. We'll have everybody create a Go Baylor account. So if you apply through the Common App or Apply Texas, we'll make sure that you get your Go Baylor account created, and we'll send you instructions on how to do that. And then if you haven't submitted these items already through the Common App or Apply Texas, you'll start working on the required and recommended items. So we are test optional this year, meaning you can decide whether or not you want to submit test scores. And so if you do decide to submit test scores, our averages are a 1240 to a 1370 on the SAT and a 26 to a 32 on the ACT. Those are our averages, so we do have students that are over that and under that. What I'll say is if you're trying to decide whether or not to submit test scores, you want to put the strongest academic profile forward. So if you've done really well in high school and your scores are lower than what you or think you can do, then it might be a good decision to hold off on test scores unless you can test again. Or if you haven't done as well in high school, it may be a good idea to test to support your high school grade. So you have to make the decision that's best for you. If you have specific questions, you can reach out and I can talk to you about that. We'll want you to submit your high school transcript showing grades 9th through 11th, and then an essay. And this essay is really just an opportunity for you to share more about yourself. So what I like to say is imagine that a room of people is just getting a piece of paper that has your GPA and your name on it. That essay is a chance to add whatever you want to that piece of paper with your GPA and name on it. So think of it like that. Don't stress too much about the essay. We're not looking for the world's next best author. We just want to get to know you better. Another way we get to know you is through the recommended items. That's going to be a resume, 2 letters of recommendation that can come from anyone. We would recommend having at least 1 academic letter of recommendation, and then a short answer question where you'll get to share more about Baylor, why you're interested in Baylor, and what you think you can bring to the campus. So you'll want to submit everything you see on both the required and recommended items when you submit your application to Baylor. Some important dates are going to be November 2nd and February 1st. November 2nd is our early action and early decision deadline. The good thing about these early deadlines is that you'll hear back earlier. So if you apply early decision, that means you'll be committing to Baylor. So if you're accepted, you're saying you're coming, you've already thought through the finances, and you want to be on campus. You'll hear back by December 15th. If you're applying early action, you'll hear back by January 15th, and then you have until June 1st to make a decision on whether or not you want to come to Baylor. And then February 1st is going to be our regular admissions deadline, you'll hear back by April 10th, and then have until March. Sorry, if you apply early decision 2, you'll have until March 15th to make your decision, and you'll hear back by March 1st. Now, I do want to talk quickly about financial aid. The nice thing about Baylor is you don't have to complete any general scholarship applications. We actually will review you for an academic scholarship based off your application to Baylor. So once you submit your application to Baylor, we'll look at your high school transcript, and depending on how you've done in high school, you may be awarded a 4-year scholarship that ranges from $12,000 a year to $23,000 a year. We also do need-based aid, and to get need-based aid, you'll need to submit the FAFSA and CSS profile. The FAFSA is free. CSS profile costs about $25. And if you qualify for a fee waiver on the SAT, you can use that fee waiver through the CSS profile. We'll need both of those submitted, and then you can be considered for federal grants and loan offers, and then need-based scholarship from Baylor. And then our last round is going to be our scholarship program. So these programs are going to be more competitive. They range from $3,000 to full tuition scholarships. So they're going to be things like Invitation to Excellence. These are all going to be virtual events this year. We also have Distinguished Scholars Day. That's a $3,000 scholarship. And then we have some Baylor to Baylor programs. And that's for any of you that may be thinking about law school, med school, or seminary. You can apply to Baylor University and to our law school, Baylor College of Medicine, and to Truist Seminary, which is our seminary, and you would get accepted into both. So we select 6 students usually every year for each of those programs. So that's just a little bit about scholarship. And I do want to take any questions y'all have. So this is where y'all can be shy. If you have questions, send it to the chat. I know there's just a few students in here, so I'm asking y'all to be brave. And you can unmute yourself if you want to, or you can send those to the chat. Are there any, if y'all don't have questions, I'll ask y'all a question. Do you know what you might want, or what are you thinking about majoring in?
Biochemistry.
Okay. So you're thinking about biochemistry. Are you thinking about med school or anything like that?
Yes.
Okay, so good thing I would say with biochemistry in our pre-med program at Baylor is that you can do both biochemistry and pre-med and not have to add any additional classes. Typically, if you major in a science and you're pre-med, a lot of your classes overlap for pre-med and your major. And our biochemistry program is nice because you're going to get the chemistry background, but you also aren't going to have to take as heavy as chemistry courses, so they'll mix in some biology there. You'll have access to a lot of research, which is always good for medical school. And then that pre-med program, again, you'll probably be asked to join one of our pre-med student associations. And joining those associations, you'll be able to get connects for shadowing experience. I mean, this program is pretty well oiled. So if you come in biochem pre-med, you'll be on a good track for medical school. I have multiple friends who graduated from Baylor with different GPAs, but if you do well enough in the pre-med program at Baylor, you'll put yourself in a good position to get to medical school. Well, any other questions or majors that y'all are thinking of?
I'm thinking of doing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I said I'm thinking of doing clinical lab science.
Okay. So I'll say you are braver than me. I took one science at Baylor, and that was a struggle. But if you are thinking of clinical lab science, that is a smaller program at Baylor, and there's a few options. So we do have the clinical lab science major, and then we have something called science research fellows. Both of those are going to be heavy on research, a lot of science classes, a lot of time in the lab. So you'll be working in smaller labs. You most likely will have a lab that you kind of stay in for a full year. And that will be with a professor that's doing research. And when I say a professor doing research, they're doing research that may be, funded by the government. So we do have professors that are doing research on deafness and trying to figure out if there's a way to somewhat create some kind of cure for people who are deaf. And so that's the kind of research you would jump in on. And depending on what your interest is in clinical lab research, you would have a chance to kind of work with specific individuals and PhD and graduate students that are doing research. So what I'll say is also point out our science building is the nicest building on campus. There's over 140 labs in that science building. So if you're looking at clinical research or clinical lab science, you'll be in a good position. And the other thing I mentioned was science research fellows. That's a smaller group that's heavy on research. If you're interested in doing any research with that clinical lab science research fellows would be a good program to think about. Small program, but you are going to leave with a lot of research experience. You'll be set up well for graduate school. Definitely set up to go into a lab once you graduate. So let's see, got a question in the chat. If I'm thinking about applying for a scholarship program, will I still be eligible for general scholarships? So yes, if you apply for scholarship programs, so say you apply for a scholarship program, but you've already been awarded one of our general academic scholarships, as long as you aren't awarded a full tuition scholarship or a full ride scholarship, you will still keep your academic scholarship from Baylor. So the only reason you wouldn't be eligible is if you were to be awarded one of our full tuition scholarships. What I will say is if you are thinking about any of the scholarship programs, go ahead and apply, because even if you don't get awarded one of them, if you get invited to participate in any of them, you do get at least a participation scholarship. So definitely apply for those scholarship programs if you're thinking about it, because they are stackable with our academic scholarships if you get any of the scholarships that are under full tuition. So good question. What other questions do y'all have? Yes.
Email in the chat before you leave, so let's be able to get in contact with you.
I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing you.
Email in the chat.
Did anybody hear that?
I think he's asking you to put your email in the chat.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Thank y'all. I will drop my email in the chat. So feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. I do recognize some of these names, so I know I've talked to a few of y'all via email. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions or need any help with your application. I'm here to help with any of that. Anything else? I don't want to hold y'all longer than I have to, but I want to make sure I get to answer any questions y'all have. And I will say, if y'all heard me talk about anything as far as campus life, student life, different experiences at Baylor, ask those questions if you're thinking about it, because I did not ask those questions coming into college. And the campus life, being connected on campus, is a big part of your college experience. So if you are thinking anything based off what I've shared, or if I didn't share it and you're wondering, what is this like at Baylor? Feel free to ask. I promise I'll be honest with y'all. I graduated from Baylor. I do work at Baylor, but I'm a Baylor graduate, so I can share what it's like as a student on campus.
And students, you won't get a face-to-face experience with any of the college reps, so please make sure you're asking your questions now. And typically you all don't send emails, so go ahead and ask those questions if you have questions.
Okay, I see one in the chat, and what I'm gonna do is make sure that I'm giving you the exact right number. So I'm gonna look that up. It's a good question. These are things that I used to have memorized. The question is, what are our four-year graduation rates? I used to have it memorized, and then we went virtual, and now things I used to say every day, seeing people face to face, I don't say them anymore. So it's usually around 75%, our four-year graduation rate. And what I'll say is, for all of y'all, if you're thinking about Baylor, take advantage of student worker positions. There's a lot of opportunities to get a job on campus. I will tell y'all how I was able to stay at Baylor, make it affordable, and graduate in 4 years. I got a job on campus as a community leader, which is our version of an RA, and that paid my room and board when I was at Baylor, so I didn't have to pay for housing or my meal plan. And then I did well in my classes and was able to get a scholarship from my department my last 2 years. So I would say taking advantage of your resources, applying for all outside scholarships. So if you see a scholarship on the McDonald's website, apply for the McDonald's scholarship because all that money can be used towards your tuition and your fees at Baylor. Do students get help finding internships? Yes, students do get help finding internships. For a lot of majors, it actually is a requirement to have an internship before you graduate. And so there are people who work in most departments that connect students to internships. Our career fairs is a great place to get connected to an internship. So you can go up to a company and say, hey, I'm not a senior, I'm not graduating, but I would love to do an internship this summer if y'all have those opportunities. So you do have help finding internships, and then we have the Career Center. Again, you can go at any time to the Career Center and ask for help. So even if you're at a point where you're like, I came in as a biochemistry major and these classes are hard and I'm not sure if I want to be a doctor anymore, you can go to the Career Center. You can meet with somebody. They also have different like personality tests you can take, career tests you can take to help kind of decide what is the best major for you. And the other thing about Baylor that's nice is you can switch your major pretty easy. Y'all might not believe me, but I switched my major 9 times when I was a student at Baylor, and I graduated in 4 years. So it is doable. I would say don't do it 9 times, but it is doable. Yes.
I'm sorry, you may have mentioned this and I missed it, but are you able to go in undecided too? You are.
Yeah, so I didn't mention that. Good question. You are able to come in undecided, and if you do that, you'll basically come in and take all of the core courses. So any class that every student has to take, that's what your advisor will kind of point you to. And then they'll also try to work in 1 or 2 classes in different fields that you might be interested in. So if you come in undecided, but say I'm thinking about nursing or I'm thinking about education, they'll try to get you in an intro to nursing class or an intro to education class to help you decide what major you might actually want to declare. And there typically isn't a rush. I do have a friend who I met at Baylor, and she was undecided until her junior year. And at that point, her academic advisor said, you have to pick a major or you're going to be here longer than 4 years. So you'll have an academic advisor that'll make sure that you don't stay undecided for too long.
I guess just to make a follow-up from that, students, please do not go in whatever major you are, if you're undecided, taking all core classes. That is the biggest mistake you could ever make. Unless you're on those very like meticulous programs like nursing, where you have to go exactly by the course schedule. But anything else, please don't go in there taking 5 chemistries and 3 bios. It's just not a good idea. You're going to burn yourself out, you're going to be bored, and it's going to be stressful. So please mix in some things like take a psychology class, but take like African American psychology or English studies. Like you can fulfill your requirements but still keep it fun. Like don't go in there doing crazy core classes.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would say one of the things that's nice about most degree plans at Baylor is there's going to be at least one elective or fun class built into every semester. And so when you see that, make sure that you take your time to find the classes you're actually interested in, something that might be fun. I know that a lot of students at Baylor were taking like bowling as a class to get an easy grade or just to do something fun. There's a lot of students that instead of taking regular history at Baylor, I took a history of American pop music. So that was my history credit at Baylor. So you can take classes that are a little bit, maybe not as hard as your sciences, but also enjoyable, entertaining. So make sure you look at the courses that are available to you. In your first semester, you won't really need to do that much, but after your first semester, look at the courses that are available and sign up for the ones that are interesting to you because you're paying to take those classes. So take the ones that you actually want to take. It's a good point. Any other questions y'all have? Any questions about campus life, things to get connected to? Any questions you're wondering what it's like at Baylor for students? I know that students typically have questions like that. Any questions like that?
Could you talk about, I guess, being a student of color at a predominantly white institution? Because I think sometimes our students shy away because they're coming from DeSoto, which is predominantly Black. So can you talk about your experience?
I definitely can. So what I'll say is Baylor is a predominantly white institution, so most of the students at Baylor are white. And for our students of color, the Multicultural Affairs Office is really our like safe place where we feel connected, where we feel celebrated, where we feel like we um, have power to make change on campus. And that's one of the biggest things I'll say. So I have two siblings who go to historically black colleges. And what I'll say is that they're having a really good experience there, but I wouldn't say that my experience at Baylor was bad because at Baylor, I learned how to celebrate my own culture. I learned how to advocate for other people to see and understand my own culture. So there's a lot of different things that we did together in the Black Student Union for ourselves just to have fun. So we were playing different events. One of the probably my most memorable college experiences was being a part of the Big 12 Conference on Black Student Government. So every year we would travel to another college, and it would be a lot of the schools that are in the Big 12. So schools like UT and Texas Tech. We would go to one college and have just a weekend of speakers that would come, different black speakers that would come, and we would be talking about different things we could do on our campus to make campus better for black students. We would talk about, we would just have fun. So there would be like a gospel fest. There would be different mixes that would happen every night. So those events I think were a highlight of my college experience being a part of Black Student Union. Greek life was a big part of my college experience. So I think what I'll say at Baylor is that black students have their own kind of community, and then students of color on top of that have like support each other. And you'll meet people on campus who don't look like you, who are white, that you feel connected to. I will say that it will be challenging at times, but you will walk away a better person. You'll walk away ready for the workspace. You'll know how to advocate for yourself in a job. You'll know how much you're worth because you will fight to show how much you're worth. So I think overall, I wouldn't trade my Baylor experience for anything, which is sometimes it's hard to say that when my my siblings are at historically black colleges. But I think Baylor really prepared me for the real world. I got a lot of leadership experience at Baylor and met a lot of people that are doing good work around the country, really with NAACP, with in their first jobs, starting their own businesses. A lot of black students that are doing amazing things at Baylor and from Baylor. So that's just a little bit of what it's like. Do y'all have any like specific questions about culture, clubs, organizations? That was a good question. And I will say real quick, I do a presentation every other Wednesday going into more detail about what it's like to be a student of color at Baylor. So I'll share the link. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'll share the link for that presentation if you ever want to attend.
Yeah, I think our students, just because I know sometimes it is a battle, like do I want to go to HBCU route or PWI, but I just like to tell students, go where you're going to be successful. Don't get caught in that battle because you can have a great experience either place. So make sure you're going to be successful.
And I would say, just to add to that, you can always go and visit an HBCU. I know we take me and even now as a staff member, I'll take road trips with some of the undergraduate fraternity brothers. So some of the guys that are on campus, and we'll go to a step show at HBCU. So you can still go to those different things, those different events if you want to while you're a student at Baylor.
I think there's one more question in the chat. Will describe life in Waco?
Good question. So it's a little bit different than DeSoto, Dallas area. What I'll say is that Waco has definitely grown a lot. Waco, there's a lot of different places that have different vibes. So if you like outdoors, Waco is a great place for people who like outdoors. A lot of people do stuff on the river. There's a big park in town. I know for me, a lot of my time at Baylor was spent on campus. And then after I graduated, I realized there's a lot of good food places in Waco. If you like concerts, there actually are a lot of concerts that happen in Waco. And we're in a good place because we're only an hour and 30 minutes from Dallas and an hour and 30 minutes from Austin. So it's easy to take a weekend trip either direction if you want to. And so that's something that is nice. I would say another thing is the people in Waco are not necessarily all in Baylor, so you can meet a lot of great people in Waco. That's one of the reasons I stayed after I graduated, is because of people I met at Baylor and then just people I met in the Waco community. So I started volunteering with Boys and Girls Club in Waco and ended up staying because of the wanting to see the boys and girls that I had met when they were in middle school graduate from high school. So it's actually a cool place. It's growing. We do have a lot of tourists that come to Waco. A lot of celebrities come to Waco, believe it or not. So it's not strange to hear somebody say, "Oh, J-Lo was in downtown today," because there's a TV show that is based out of Waco, and a lot of celebrities will come to see the different stuff they've built around that TV show. So that might sound like a stretch, but that really happens quite a bit in Waco, where you will hear, "Oh, this celebrity was here today," or you'll see on their Instagram that they were in Waco. So it's a pretty cool place. Kind of has a small town feel, but it's actually pretty big. So there's again a lot of food places, a lot of small concerts that happen, and then good locations, so you can get again Austin and Dallas in an hour and 30 minutes. And then I just shared a link for our next diversity discussion, and that's going to be October 21st. So if you want to join, we do those every other Wednesday at 4 o'clock.
We'll send that link out, students, in the follow-up email with this recording, so you'll have it for reference. And if you decide you do want to attend that session, but if you would like to make note of it now, you're welcome to it.
And again, if y'all have questions, email me. I know that when I was in high school, I didn't like to send emails. So if you think of it, email me. If you're not already getting emails from me, make sure you fill out that registration form so we can make sure to get you emails from me. But let me know if you have questions. I won't make y'all ask any more questions. Y'all ask a good amount. But thank y'all for listening to me. I hope that y'all learned something about Baylor, that it excited you a little bit, and that I want to encourage all of y'all to apply if you haven't already. It's a free application. Apply. You will be automatically reviewed for academic scholarship, and see what happens. Keep asking us questions. We'd love to have some of y'all at Baylor next year.
One last question. I just heard you say the application is free. Is that for all students? So there's just no fee for Baylor?
So there's no fee for the application. So the only thing that will cost money is the CSS profile, and that's through College Board. So if I know that sometimes students do get fee waivers for that, but that's the only thing that costs money, and it's usually $25.
Okay, so they don't have to submit a fee waiver. They just need to click on request fee waiver at the end of the application and automatically take care of that. Is that how that works?
For the CSS profile?
Oh no, for the actual Baylor application.
Oh, for Baylor, yeah, for the Baylor app. So if you apply through Go Baylor, which is I would say the easiest way to do it, you don't even have to worry about that. But if you're applying through Apply Texas or Common App, if there's an option, you would say like request fee waiver, but typically it won't even ask you that question. So it's in the system that Baylor doesn't have an application fee.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
No problem. All right, y'all. Y'all are welcome. Thank y'all for joining me.
All right.